going on, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and I am sitting in the pit right now, Sunday afternoon, about 50 minutes away from tip-off between the UNM Lobos and the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. And it is a little surprising spread today. I see a lot of the sports books have it up to 15.5, saw it as high as 16.5. I think Ken Palm has it around 13 or so. I am trying to make sure we are firing on all cylinders here on all the socials, and got to update that. But I've been given no update of any injuries, anything like that. I'm looking down as the Lobos warm up. There's nobody in street clothes that is not expected. I'm kind of double checking right now. Nope, just got a bunch of coaches out there and a bunch of managers, and the only street clothes are the players who are not playing this year. So all hands on deck for the Lobos, which is a good sign for UNM in their non-conference finale. They are 8-2, obviously, going for a 9-2 non-conference record. I think people would have been happy with that, knowing that this is a team, one of three in the country, that is 100% new roster, 100% new coaching staff, and they're coming off the two biggest wins, you could argue, of the non-conference. Really, Mississippi State could be thrown into that mix, but they still got some stuff to fix before they look like the SEC Mississippi State of old. And Santa Clara last week in the pit. VCU on the road Wednesday. Easily the best win. You could argue the Santa Clara Mississippi State win, depending on what you think Santa Clara is going to end up doing. Right now, they are the better team out of those two, but it was at home in the pit, and Mississippi State was a neutral court game. Nevertheless, those are the Lobos' three kind of feathers in the cap kind of wins, but today would be, the next one's the most important, they say, and the reason for that in this regard is you lose one of these games, especially at home, and it stays with you all year. The Lobos don't have one of those losses right now that's going to just stick with them and hurt their resume. A true road loss at a rival like New Mexico State, Lobo fans don't like it. People may want to say it's worse than it was. It is what it is. It's a road loss, going to be at worst a quad 3, but probably a quad 2 loss. And as of right now, it's a quad 2. I don't really see it dipping. And New Mexico State is a team that is struggling right now. They've lost 3 in a row. I do think they're still going to be pretty good. And in Conference USA in particular, I don't see their metrics just plummeting because I think they're one of the best teams in Conference USA. So we got a couple people in right now. We got a hi, Geoff, from Nick on YouTube. We got Larry saying, is Kevin Patton Jr. out tonight? If he is, I wasn't told. Let's see. Let me see if I can find him. I don't know where he is. But when I asked if anybody was out injured today, I was told nobody is out. So, do you see him somewhere, Larry? Are you here? I'm trying to find him, and I guess I don't see him. I see his brother out there with the managers. But, I do not see him. I know there were some people there was somebody mad that he got yelled at VCU when he did. Do you see Kevin Patton in warm-up somewhere, Larry? Am I just not seeing him here? It's possible I'm just missing him, but I don't see him out here, but I do see his brother in warm-ups. So anyway, like I said, I was told when I asked if anybody was out that nobody was out, but obviously things can change. I don't see him either. So you're right there in that he's not out here as far as I can tell, but I wasn't told anything about him. So I will keep you updated on that because, he should be out here warming up, obviously. All right, so this game today, the Lobos are in a 6-game stretch right now where they are playing their 6 toughest offensive rebounding opponents of the season. What does that mean really? Well, it means that for a team that's not very good at rebounding overall, they got to find ways to basically get around that. Against Santa Clara, what they did was they ended up beating them in fast break points 29-3, primarily because while they didn't leak out early, Eric Olin said, they were able to get out in transition while Santa Clara focused on attacking the offensive glass And they still got a ton of offensive boards, did Santa Clara. They still had 20 second chance points, but that was mitigated by 29-3 in fast break points because the Lobos were able to get out and run. What they did against VCU, on the other hand, while in the first half they had 10 offensive rebounds, did the Rams, had 10 offensive rebounds for 12 offensive or second chance points. In the second half, they still had 7 offensive rebounds, but they only got 4 second chance points. And when I asked Eric about that, like, well, what is that? What is it to getting second chance points, to converting your offensive rebounds in one half to not getting them in the second? Well, as he explained it, it was sort of about, the defense on the perimeter. When they're not letting players drive to the rim as easily as they were in the first half, they're in better position when there are misses, right? There's still going to be some long rebounds that you can't help but the other team gets sometime. You can never be perfect in rebounding. It's just not going to happen, especially with long rebounds. But when you're forcing more jump shots, those are lower percentage numbers, and that includes on a putback. So in the first half, when they're scoring 12 second chance points, VCU that is, a lot of them were putbacks. A lot of them were right by the rim where all they had to do is then go right back up with it, and that's a higher percentage shot, obviously. So in the second half, you're in better position to start with on the defensive side. You're in better position to rebound, and that was a big part of it. Some people point to JT Rock's emergence as helping the Lobos with rebounding, and of course it is. I will say his 5 rebounds at VCU, 4 of them were offensive, so those actually, he only had 1 defensive rebound. He wasn't actually the difference in the second half on the offensive glass for VCU, although his minutes were a difference just in general. He's been playing tremendously. He had plus 18, and in a 3-point win on the road, if you have one player who's plus 18 in 18 minutes, stuff like that's pretty much what the difference of the game is. Him and Luke Hopp had those kind of minutes, so those were really good. In terms of specific rebounding and keeping teams off the offensive glass, which, again, Florida Gulf Coast is ranked 57th nationally in offensive rebound rate, so they are a team that should be able to do that well again, just like the previous 2 opponents, and the next 3 being San Jose State, Boise State, and Wyoming, the first 3 conference games for the Lobos. All good rebounding teams and good in general on the offensive glass. San Jose State, for some reason, is really the only one in that group who isn't really good at second chance points. So they get the offensive boards, but haven't really been great at converting them. Sorry about that. Let me click to this. Jeff Holland's in on YouTube. Heard a player or 2 maybe dealing with the cold or flu symptoms. Any truth to that? Again, not that I was told. And as we are here looking, there is one player out there not warming up, and that's Kevin Patton. But as I came in, the first question I asked when I saw somebody with the team was, anybody out? And I was told no. So I don't know what else to tell you there. I just saw Robert Portnoy walk in. He, of course, is not going to be doing the pregame show, the team's pregame show with Learfield, or not Learfield, oh, geez, that's been a few years now, but with New Mexico Sports, Lobo Sports Network, or whatever it's called, the in-house team that gets the pregame with the coach and all that. Portnoy will not be doing that. It will be Jeff Symbieta. I'm looking across the court right now. Symbieta and Daniel Ferris are on the call for radio tonight, and they are not started their pregame just yet. I believe they start theirs at 1:30. Maybe they will have an update on the health of some of the players. But, yeah, I have not been told anything about that. Do I see a letdown after VCU? Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I think it's just natural to have a little bit of a letdown because they played so well in the second half, and they had to play above just sort of the baseline to get that win. So, yeah, I would guess there's probably going to be a letdown. I don't see that in terms of, like, makeup of the team or something that tells me, yeah, this team just doesn't know how to handle success or they're just going to overlook Florida Gulf Coast. I just don't think you can sustain what they did against Santa Clara and VCU the past two games in a row. I don't think you can really sustain that forever, so I would expect a letdown at some point. They sure would hope it'd be tonight rather than once league play starts next Saturday against San Jose State, where I was telling one of the Lobo assistants, obviously hasn't been here and hasn't been a part of it, but San Jose State's been miserable in Mountain West since they joined the league, and the one team they've had the most success against, not Air Force even, not Fresno State, the team they've had the most success against has been the UNM Lobos, and that includes in good years, in NCAA tournament years. Like they find a way to cause a headache for the Lobos somehow, some way. This was before Tim Miles even. They just kind of found a way regularly to be a thorn in the side of the UNM Lobos. I remember talking to Steve Alford's last team, or maybe it was Craig Neal's first team, but it was I remember talking with Alex Kirk and Cameron Bairstow about a loss they had there, or a really bad game they had there at San Jose State once. And he said it's just really hard to get up for San Jose State when you play in the pit every day and then you play in that environment. But the thing is, San Jose State's come into the pit and done it as well. They beat a Craig Neal team once here in the pit when they weren't a tremendous team. So anyway, San Jose State next Saturday opens Mountain West play for the Lobos, and the Lobos better not overlook them any more than they better overlook Florida Gulf Coast, because as of right now, the Lobos, as preseason biases are starting to factor out of the preseason polls and the metrics. I say polls, I mean the metrics, like KenPom.com, as those are starting to factor out, and there were some of those with a team that had an entirely new roster. Now you're just starting to look at results. The Lobos are climbing up, right? They're beating VCU. They're beating Santa Clara. Those are wins that are going to climb the metrics anyway. But as you start dropping off some of those biases, and those factor in less and less as the season goes on until they disappear, I do think the Lobos have a chance to get into the top 50 in KenPom, maybe in the next few weeks if they perform well. And games like this mean you better win by 15 if you want your metrics to at least hold serve or climb at all. So we got John Romero on YouTube saying, looking forward to a great Lobo effort. Fun team to watch. Sky is the limit. Just ask Diego Pavia. Go Lobos and GG. I will say the Diego Pavia topic has been discussed several times already since I've been in the pit this morning or this afternoon. And it is an interesting topic. His handling of and pre and post Heisman ceremony and people's response to that. He is who he is. I'll give him that. He is not changing for anybody. Shame on me, watching on altitude rather than in person. My apologies, says John Romero on YouTube. Yes, John Romero, altitude is getting the television broadcast. That'll be a Robert Portnoy, Hunter Green broadcast. And across the way, Jeff Symbieta and Daniel Ferris on the call for the radio. Jeff Holland is in. I was a little unsure of Olin because of his demeanor. However, I think he has his players' full attention, and I don't think a letdown is going to happen. Yeah, I don't think there should be any major letdown. I just don't think that's the makeup of this team. There has to be a certain ebb and flow to every team. You can't always be at A. You're going to have some B games. You're going to have some C games. You want to mitigate and avoid as many of those D and F games as you want. But, they can't play at the same level forever that they played at Santa Clara when they blew out a really good Santa Clara team and went on the road and beat a really good VCU team on the road. They can't play at that level forever. So in that regard, I'm just kind of predicting a letdown one of these days. But there's no other indication in my mind, like looking at the team or watching how they're acting, to tell you that I think it's going to be today. I do think that his demeanor in general and his approach to this game, saying, hey, we have nothing figured out yet, right? Like, we aren't there. Like, we were finding things wrong in every game that we could correct. And this is the next opportunity to correct that stuff. That's sort of what he said in his press conference Friday, that I think is sort of his mindset game to game. He doesn't want to sit there and collect all the pats on the back just yet, because who cares what he does by mid-December? League plays around the corner. They better be ready for that. Nick is in on YouTube, and I don't mean to bring up the last guy, but I'm curious, how is the dynamic of covering the Olin era contrasted with the Pitino era, given their very different approach to game and program? I'm having a blast covering this team. I was having a blast covering the last few Pitino teams as well. Obviously, there was a little more access, not a ton, frankly, but a little more access to practices and stuff like that with the Lobos under Pitino. But, I mean, I don't not get return texts or calls from Eric if I reach out to him. He's still there. There hasn't quite been the same sort of access in terms of practice and stuff like that, but it is what it is. I don't think I think that's been a factor in the crowd coming around and kind of getting on board, if you will, with him, with Olin and this team, but I don't think that that's something that necessarily is holding anything back right now. I think Lobos are getting on board because they're performing, and there's a reason Eric Olin was one of the hottest coaching commodities in the offseason, and the guy knows what he's doing, right? Ben Wysong's in on YouTube. getting a W today and sitting at 9-2 going into conference play would be awesome for this team. Go Lobos. I think that's where they're going to be, right? I expect a win today. I don't know if it'll be by the number, 16.5 in some places, 15.5 I saw as well. I don't know if it'll be by that much, but it better be at least a somewhat comfortable double-digit kind of game. If the Lobos want their metrics to stay respectable, they're in the 70s right now. I think they're at 77 entering today in Ken Palm. They're higher in the net, although I can't say don't pay too much attention to the net in December when the numbers are bad and then say, hey, look at them now that they're good. The numbers still don't mean much in the net right now in December. So don't read too much into net rankings right now. Those are the formula for those need a larger sample size to be accurate, and they just aren't right now. So. Nick's in on YouTube. Both guys seem really different. Or are they? Yeah, they're absolutely very different. Both know basketball really well. Both handle media and radio interviews very differently. And what they do differently is certainly with post-game radio shows, pre-game radio shows, things like that. They, Richard Pitino was far more boisterous and far more, I guess, just comfortable doing that. Whereas Eric Owen just hasn't done that. He's been 21 years at UC San Diego where he wasn't getting the media coverage. And so now that he's getting it, it's just a little bit new to him, but he's still showing up to the press conferences. He's certainly not denying any interviews or anything like that. But it is a different era than under Richard Pitino. So hold on one second here.
Hi. My name is Sandy Madden, and my friend and I have been here almost as long as this man's been here. But I have something that I want to give for a gift.
All right, that was unique. I had a fan wanting to get something to Fern Lobo, and she said she figured I could do it and didn't recognize what this is. Why would you, right? Why would you recognize a guy sitting in media row with a computer is on a show? That's just not the norm. So sorry about that, guys. Let's see what we got here. All right, Steve Singletary's in. This has by far been the year of the freshmen. It sure has. One of them non-traditional, of course, in Tomoslav William, but he's still a first-year college player. So he is a freshman, just like everybody else. But, Jay Collin, you're right, Annette. They're both legit, man. Not legit because of the talent level. Not legit because of the way the roster was built. They would be legit on just about any Mountain West team as true freshmen, and they would be legit in this league on any roster. They're ready to play at the D1 level from day one, and they were both overlooked. They not only fit what Olin really wanted in a dynamic rim pressure style, rim attacking point guard in Uriah Tenet. Well, there's nobody warming up. I'm going to swap these. But Jay Call obviously being able to shoot is something that he wants in this offense because they create so much space, right? So Ooh, I got my the mirrored camera. When I move this way, it goes that way. I don't know what it looks like to you guys, but to me that looks a little funny. It's also really blurry in the background. I don't remember changing my settings on that camera, but there you go. JC. Geoff Holland, sorry. I think we are used to the basketball coach being more outgoing, gregarious, and the football coach being a bit more reserved. We are in Lobo Bizarro world, and it seems to be working out. Lobo on point so far. You got to give Lobo credit for what he has done in terms of the two hires, right? I mean, he nailed both of them, frankly. He nailed both of them. Jason Eck is what Lobo basketball coaches have been in the past. Fernando Lobo is what Lobo football coaches have been in the past in terms of PR, not in terms of success. He's finding plenty of success. So it is what it is. I do think Eric Owens, coming around and was never anti-media, never anti or hard to work with. It was just a very kind of closed newness to it all. And practices, like I said, so I haven't been to one since October 15th, but maybe he just doesn't want us at practices. I know other people are allowed at practices, so it's not that he doesn't want people at practices. I suppose it's just the media. Olin's not used to the fishbowl yet. He seems to be getting better with it. Yeah, I think so. I mean, here's kind of how I'll put a bow on the Olin Patino comparisons and how he is with the media. Olin's just doing what Olin does. If there's media involved, he'll do the media. If there's this involved, he'll do this. But like, Olin has become a really, really good basketball coach because he does this, right? He kind of goes down this path of evaluating players in a certain way, teaching his coaches, his assistants, his staff, this is what I want, this is what I expect. He teaches his players a certain way to play. He keeps doing that, and the process is game to game, day to day, and it isn't overly sexy. It isn't trying to sell anything, really. He's never really tried to sell, and maybe that's what fans want. They didn't realize that's what they wanted, but every time Patino would talk about how great the pit is and how great the fans are, and he'd be dropping his kid off at school one day and somebody would say, go Lobos in the drop-off line and this and that. Like, Patino knew what he was doing. He was trying to get Lobo fans on his side. He was trying to become one of them. He was doing the PR part of Lobo basketball. Eric Olin hasn't really done that because he never has. He just kind of goes about his thing. He's never – it's not that he's turning down media requests or anything like that. It's just been a different style. But ultimately, everyone here says that if you win, that's all that really matters, right? And do it the right way. And Eric's doing that. So fans now seem a whole lot more understanding of Eric Owens' style right now because he's winning. But frankly, he was winning before. It just wasn't winning as sexy as some fans wanted. 8-2 is a good record in non-conference play. What player is your biggest surprise so far this season? Javis Miller being entirely out of the rotation right now is probably my biggest surprise. I understand it. His numbers have been bad. His defensive numbers, his on-the-court numbers for the Lobo defense have been bad. He was getting minutes. It wasn't that he wasn't playing. He's averaging 6 points a game. He just hasn't played in 4 or 5 games now. And every time I've asked Olin about it, as recently as Friday, he just says it's coach's decision. It's not an injury. It's not a health or anything. He's just not doing what needs to be done to get minutes. I know a lot of other people seem to think Tameo Pond should be playing more. I'm not in that camp. I think he's at the end of the rotation. Somebody's got to be at the end of the bench, right? So I'd say those two things are a little bit surprising to me. Based on his history, I don't know that Kevin Patton's minutes are a huge surprise to me. We're getting into the more surprising that Kevin Patton hasn't been able to break through with consistency. But as recently as Wednesday, he was still doing something at a bad turnover that was clearly him going to the hoop instead of playing in the offense. So I get that. I think there's also an element in terms of surprise of both freshmen that we talked about earlier in Jay Call and Uriah Tenet. I thought both were going to be fine. I did not think either one of them were going to be averaging double digits. I did not think they were going to be regular starters as Jay Call is and Uriah Tenet could be if only not for the fact that the roster already has a point guard starting. I think Dayton Albury got a little bit slower start than I expected, but I think Dayton Albury is kind of doing now what they wanted him to do, which was attack the rim like crazy. That's what he does, and draw a whole lot of fouls and spray it out when you get into the paint. once you get a foot in the paint, you look for somebody that's open or you look to finish. And Dayton's been doing that the last several games, and he's been doing it really well. So on YouTube, we now got a cinematic Affairian saying go Lobos. We got Hotjaw on YouTube saying any recruits in the building? Nope, no recruits that I'm aware of. Are you going to the bowl game? I don't think I am. We got the New Mexico Bowl the next day. I'll probably be assigned to do something with that. I also look forward to the rare holiday off, the rare holiday time to have a couple days off. Usually basketball's playing a lot closer to the holiday, but yeah, I'm in basketball mode. Sean Ryder, our football coach, is the primary football guy. So I mean, obviously he's going to be at the bowl game, and he will be getting back to cover the New Mexico Bowl the next day. But I don't, at this point, have not been talked to by any bosses about, hey, you should go out to Phoenix. I do have a sister out there, so maybe there'll be some opportunity where maybe I go out there after all and kind of turn it into a little bit of a family vacation / bowl something. But as of right now, no, there's no plan for me to be a part of football. I am in basketball mode right now. That is what my job is. Geoff's in on YouTube. It's apparent that defense gets you minutes on this team. Obviously, we need scoring, but the defense has been a real surprise with the young players. What are adjusted defense ranks so far? I will tell you as we enter this game. Let me hit refresh on this. YouTube, Jesus. Ken Palm is telling me that right now the Lobos offense is ranked 88th in the country in adjusted offense and 66th in adjusted defense. That 66 was actually much higher earlier in the season. They kind of had some lapses. Alabama State, while they won, was a bad offensive game. They gave up an awful lot of offense in a few of those games, even though they got a few wins. But, I think defense is kind of the calling card for this team. We talked so much about his unique offense, right, where they spread it out, and they do shoot a lot of threes if they can. Their success this year, though, has been when they haven't shot a lot of threes. They had 18 three-point attempts, I think it was, against VCU, and they won on the road. Let's see, 8 of 18 from three-point range, 44%. So they shot a good percentage, but they weren't shooting a ton of volume. They shot under 23s in a win. And I think some of their best games this year have been when they've shot only a few, not a few, but average or below average nationally in terms of three-pointers. Against Santa Clara, they were 9 of 23. So we're looking at two of their best wins of the season where they shot 23 and 18 three-pointers. And people were freaking out when they shot 44 in an exhibition game. And they averaged at UC San Diego last year 29, which is one of the higher numbers in the country. If they get into the 30s, that's a high number of three-point attempts. Two of their best games when they didn't attempt that many threes. Now, I still think ideally for the offense to be at its best, they need to shoot that many threes, and Jake Hall needs to be a volume three-point shooter. But primarily what they need to do is start at the rim, and that's what sucks the defense in, and then you spray it back out to the shooters on the outside, and that's where the space gets created, is by having a presence at the rim. That's why Tomislav Bouillon has been good down low. That's why Dayton Albury attacking the rim with success as opposed to just kind of reckless abandon, where earlier in the year he wasn't drawing fouls and he wasn't finishing. I think him doing that now where he's drawing fouls and he is finishing in the rim is creating a whole lot more space on the outside. And that's why you see a Jake Hall flourishing with space on the outside so much. And you're right, Tannette knocking them down when they come his way with the ball. So we are 20 minutes now away from tip-off. I'm going to wrap things up now. And I will tell you that the Lobos' next game is next Saturday, 7 p.m. against San Jose State to start Mountain West play. They're 8-2 right now. They're 15.5-point favorites against Florida Gulf Coast today. They're looking to finish non-conference play at 9-2, which I think would be a really good number for this team to finish non-conference play. I still think I'll do a power ranking sometime tomorrow with my Around the Mountain column that I do every Monday. I will do that. I think the Lobos are going to be top three. I do. I think that the way they're playing now and a little bit of projection and a little bit of what have you actually done so far in non-conference play tells me that my preseason pick of them at number 4 was probably fairly accurate. The league picked them at number 5, and some people early on thought that was going to be too high. I definitely don't see that at this point. I think they'll be in contention. I don't see why a Boise State should scare the Lobos. I don't see why a San Diego State should scare the Lobos. I don't see why a 9-1 Utah State should scare the Lobos right now. Eric Owen's a guy who beat Utah State in Logan last year. And I don't see any performance that Utah State has had that tells me, oh, wow, they're just head and shoulders above everybody. They're not. They beat that same VCU team on a neutral court by the same margin that UNM beat VCU in VCU's home gym in a sold-out Siegel Center in Richmond. So, I think the Lobos are going to be right there this year. And Northern New Mexico, Community College is playing Colorado State. Yeah, that is Colorado State's non-Division I opponent this year. Northern New Mexico College is playing Colorado State right now. I don't know what the score is. I guess I can pull up the score real quick and tell you guys. 47-21 with 3 minutes left in the first half is that game. But yeah, that is Colorado State's non-Division I opponent this year, NAIA Northern New Mexico. And there's one more after this, one more non-Division I opponent ahead. I believe UNLV in next week, after they've already played 2 league games or 1 league game at least, as a non-Division I opponent. So there you go. There's the pregame show for you guys today. Check in after the game for a game story. Of course, tomorrow morning, ETN, Emptying the Notebook, will be ready for you guys tomorrow morning to read and consume and all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys for being on. Appreciate you guys for all the comments. And one last one here from Geoff. Is there another school in the country that literally had a complete turnover in football and basketball the way we have? The combination of the two, I don't know. There's only 3 Division I teams that have had it in basketball the way that the Lobos have. So obviously it'd have to be one of those other 2. And Temple didn't have the same turnover in football. I know that's one of them. I can't remember the other one. So, yeah, to answer your question, I don't think so, but I don't know with 100% certainty. So appreciate you guys. I am looking out on the floor. I don't see Kevin Patton, so looks like no Kevin Patton today. He's been deeper on the bench lately anyway. Don't know that that'll mess up any rotations necessarily, but I don't see him out there, and I will try and get word for you guys soon, and I will tweet out what the answer is, why he's not out there. So thank you guys. ABQJournal.com for all our coverage, football, basketball, preps, all that good stuff. Thanks, guys.